Most people believe building wealth before 2027 requires staring at charts, gambling on crypto, or picking the perfect tech stock. This just causes stress and lost money. But what if you could outperform 90% of Wall Street traders by doing absolutely nothing? I will show you the exact 3 index funds you need to hold before 2027 to build an automated strategy that takes 5 minutes to set up. Keep watching, because I will reveal a massively overlooked third fund acting as the ultimate shield for your money during the next market crash. Think of an index fund like a basket of groceries. Instead of risking your budget on one expensive apple, representing a single company stock, you buy the entire supermarket. If one apple goes bad, you still own thousands of other items keeping you profitable. Unlike high-stress day trading, index funds requires zero daily effort and drastically reduce risk. The biggest mistake people make is trying to time the market. The real secret is time in the market. By consistently buying broad sections of the economy, you eliminate the need to predict the future. I selected these funds using strict criteria of low expense ratios and historical resilience. Fund 1 is the S&P 500 Index Fund, like VOO or FXAIX. This buys you tiny slices of the 500 largest, most profitable U.S. companies, averaging a 10% annual return for nearly a century. Investing just $500 a month, here over 30 years mathematically compounds into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. Fund 2 is the total U.S. stock market index fund, like VTIRFSKIX, instead of just 500 giants. This holds over 3,000 companies. When massive tech companies stumble, smaller agile companies drive the economy forward, capturing exponential growth before these startups enter the top 500. Fund 3 is the total international stock index fund, like VXUS or FTIHX, holding thousands of companies strictly outside the US. This is your ultimate hedge. When US stocks suffered a lost decade of zero growth between 2000 and 2010, international markets boomed. Combining these assets into the legendary 3-fund portfolio creates staggering results. The true key to financial freedom is pure, unemotional consistency. Automate your investments, trust the historical data, and let time do the heavy lifting. To actually let that happen, we must shatter how you think about the stock market. Picture a massive ocean liner plowing through rough seas. If you buy a single stock, you are alone in a tiny rowboat, betting your future on a single piece of wood. If that company makes a fatal mistake, your boat shatters and your wealth sinks. This is the reality of day trading. It is an exhausting treadmill of staring at red screens, obsessing over charts, and trying to outsmart algorithms. Mathematically, this gamble destroys the savings of most retail investors. Imagine instead that you own a piece of the ocean liner itself. That is the power of an index fund. You are buying a sweeping cross-section of the most efficient corporations on Earth all at once. If one company goes bankrupt, you barely notice. While that business fails, thousands of others in your portfolio are simultaneously breaking profit records and pulling your net worth upward. You eliminate the risk of holding a bad asset by tying your money to the momentum of the global economy. Yet, even when people discover this cheat code, they fall into a dangerous trap. They try to outguess the system. You have probably felt this urge, hoarding cash and waiting for an economic disaster to buy in at the absolute bottom. This is the toxic illusion of market timing. You sit on the sidelines, paralyzed by news headlines predicting a massive recession. While you wait for a crash that might not come for years, you watch helplessly as the market climbs higher without your money. The brutal truth is that missing just the 10 best trading days over a decade can wipe out your long-term returns. Smart investors know possessing a crystal ball is impossible. So they refuse to play a game they cannot win. They shift their philosophy away from timing the market and commit fiercely to time in the market. By buying diversified funds every month, whether the economy is booming or crashing, you capture the maximum possible growth. You transform from a stressed gambler into a patient architect, laying indestructible bricks of compound interest to construct a permanent financial fortress. But what exactly are those bricks made of? To build this wealth before 2027, you need an unforgiving methodology to select your assets. First, we demand ultra-low expense ratios. Think of an expense ratio as a toll booth on your highway to retirement. If you pay a Wall Street manager a 1% fee, they siphon hundreds of thousands of dollars from your future. We want funds that charge almost nothing. Second, we require extreme diversification. Third, these funds must possess a battle-tested history of surviving global crises and climbing back to the top. This brings us to the first pillar of your fortress, the foundation. You might know it as the SP 500 Index Fund, using ticker symbols like VOO or FXAIX. Buying this fund is like purchasing a master key to the VIP room of the American economy. It automatically slices your money into the 500 largest, most profitable companies in the United States. This is a financial juggernaut that has averaged roughly a 10% annual return for nearly a century, surviving world wars, the dot-com bubble, and the 2008 crash. If you invest $500 a month into this foundation over a 30-year timeline, the pure mathematical force of compounding interest turns that simple habit into a multi-million-dollar reality. Yet, massive companies are like giant cargo ships. They are incredibly stable but turn slowly. To accelerate your wealth, we introduce the second pillar, the growth engine. This is the total US stock market index fund, recognizable by symbols like VT or FSKIX. Imagine walking out of the VIP room and deciding to buy the entire stadium, instead of holding only 500 giants. This basket sweeps up over 3,000 companies, including scrappy small-cap startups. Why do you need this? Because when mega-cap giants stumble, these smaller, agile companies sprint forward. By owning the total market, you automatically capture the explosive growth of the next major startup years before they are large enough to enter the SP 500. Part 1. But what happens if the entire United States economy decides to take a 10-year nap? This is not a hypothetical nightmare. It actually happened. Between 2000 and 2010, US stocks suffered a lost decade, producing basically zero growth. If your money was tied solely to American soil, your wealth was trapped. This is why you need the ultimate shield, the Total International Stock Index Fund, using symbols like VXUS or FTIHX. Think of this fund as your global insurance policy. Instead of betting everything on one country, this basket holds thousands of companies strictly outside the United States. While America snoozed during that lost decade, international markets boomed. By adding this final variable, you guarantee that no matter what economic chaos strikes the US before 2027, your wealth continues compounding worldwide. You are capturing human progress across the entire planet. When you lock these three assets together, creating the legendary three-fund portfolio, you effectively buy a slice of every profitable enterprise on Earth. Let compounding interest ignite this trio, and the results are staggering. You do not need a massive inheritance to succeed. By carving out a portion of an ordinary salary, automating your purchases across these three baskets, and never touching them, You mathematically program your money to multiply. You are planting a financial orchard. At first, you just bury tiny seeds. But year after year, the branches grow, drop new seeds, and eventually form a massive forest of wealth that prints money while you sleep. In the end, the true key to financial freedom is not a guarded secret or a hot stock tip. It is not about perfectly timing the next crash. The real secret is pure, unemotional consistency. It is the quiet discipline of automating your investments, trusting historical data, and stepping out of the way so time does the heavy lifting. We spend our lives trading precious hours for dollars. But the moment you put the global economy to work for you, the game changes. You stop working for your money, and your money starts working tirelessly for you. Awake in every time zone, building a legacy of freedom that outlasts your lifetime.